Ken Paxton's impeachment trial is underway in Austin, and the first day has come to an end. Ultimately, it'll determine whether the suspended attorney general is allowed to go back to work and fulfill his term or be permanently removed from office.
It was a busy first day for the trial and an unexpected moment. Paxton did not return from the lunch break to sit in the chamber for opening arguments. This is a live look at the state capitol where testimony wrapped up for the day about an hour ago.
The House managers and Paxton's defense team had an hour each to lay out their case in an opening statement, but Paxton left before they got started and his chair sat empty. His attorney said there was a rule requiring Paxton to be present, but it didn't specify that he had to be there all day.
Jason Wheeler joins us live from the Capitol after watching the proceedings in person. Jason, so much happened today. What were the takeaways?
Yeah, it was a hot ticket to get in there, too. People lined up early this morning, Chris and Izzy, to get in there and get one of those coveted seats. As you mentioned, day one is now in the books already. We had planned to go past 6 p.m. today, but they called this early because the two sides needed to iron out some issues that they were having. And so far, we have only gotten to one witness, and we've only gotten partial testimony today from that one witness. Most of the day was taken up with the senators who are acting as jurors here, taking up a lot of different motions, most of them from the Paxton team. The suspended attorney general asking that these articles of impeachment be thrown out. He asked for all of them to be thrown out and then individually for different articles to be thrown out. He didn't get even close on any of those votes. The vast majority of Republicans and Democrats saying, no, we're going to go ahead and go through with this impeachment trial. We did get the opening statements today, though. The prosecution saying that Ken Paxton misused his powerful state office so that he could help a donor and friend named Nate Paul, who was having criminal and business problems.
Mr. Paxton turned the keys of the Office of Attorney General over to Nate Paul so that Mr. Paul could use the awesome power of the People's Law Firm to punish and harass perceived enemies.
The prosecution, to back that up, then called its first witness, Jeff Mateer, who had been Ken Paxton's hand-picked top deputy. They had worked together for many years closely. He says he ended up resigning and joining 7 other members of Paxton's senior leadership team, reporting their boss to law enforcement because of what they thought were unlawful interventions that Paxton was making on behalf of his friend.
I urged him not to have any further dealings with Nate Paul, to let the lawyers, the professionals in the Office of Attorney General, handle these matters as they saw fit.
What was the Attorney General's response?
He committed to that.
Objection, hearsay. Also, it's
So the prosecution focused a lot on Nate Paul today. The defense did too. Ken Paxton's defense team, of course, is going to have to go after the prosecution presents its case. Today, they punched back, though, in their opening statements and said that this case is about a whole lot of nothing, and they say it is certainly not what the senator jurors have been told so far.
My colleague talked about how Ken Paxton turned over the keys to the AG's office to Nate Paul. Remember hearing that? Totally false. One of the things you're going to see in this case is that Ken Paxton got nothing from Nate Paul, and Nate Paul got nothing from Ken Paxton.
So these two teams laid out two very different strategies today. The prosecution used very little of its allotment for its opening statement, deciding to save that time for later on. The defense, though, used almost every minute that they had. And if you sat in and listened to the entirety of both of those opening statements, it was like you were listening to two totally different cases here. It will be interesting to see how they bridge that gap as they start to prove their case. Of course, the burden of proof, though, definitely falling on the prosecution here, Chris and Izzy.
Jason, do you get any sense of how long this will last?
That is anyone's best guess. You know, some people came in today saying, oh, this is, going to go into October. Some people were expecting it to possibly end by the end of this week. The truth is, I don't think anyone really knows that right now. There are time limits on both sides. They have a total of 24 hours each to present their case, but it's also up to the presiding officer, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, who can extend that time. He's already told us to be on alert that we might be here on Saturdays as well as Monday through Friday. But again, we've only gotten to a partial testimony today from one witness. We could hear from more than 100 witnesses. Chris and Izzy.
All right, thank you very much, Jason. Izzy?
Well, the Senate rejected all of Paxton's efforts to dismiss the articles of impeachment against him. 12 Republicans joined all Senate Democrats to move forward with the trial. Now, 6 Republican senators voted to dismiss the articles, siding with Paxton. They include Paul Bettencourt, Donna Campbell, Brandon Creighton, Bob Hall, Lois Kolkhorst, and Tam Parker, who represents part of North Texas, including Flower Mound and Carrollton. Now, Paxton's wife, Angela Paxton, was in the Senate chamber today. She is a state senator, so she can be there listening to testimony and deliberations, but she will not vote on her husband's guilt or innocence. We are offering extensive coverage of this trial you will not get anywhere else. Investigative reporter Tanya Iser and a panel of political experts are giving us insight and analysis of the testimony all day. You can watch at home or on the go at WFAA.com.
You know, we realize a lot of you weren't able to see much of today's hearing as it happened, but we posted clips of opening statements from both sides on our YouTube page, and you can find a blog with live updates on WFAA.com, as well as all of our stories on how we got to this point.